Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to Pause with Prudence. I'm glad you're here. This is a space for quiet reflection, for honest and sometimes unsettling questions, and for learning how to live a more attentive, more awake life with God. So as we begin, as we often do, let's pause together. Take a slow, deep breath in, filling both your chest and your diaphragm cavity, and then gently releasing it. Let your shoulders drop, let your jaw soften, let your body arrive. I want to explore one last question that many of us feel even if we haven't put into words. I say last because this will be the last episode for this season. I will pick up Pause with Prudence again in a couple months, and I hope you will join me. But today, I want to give some insight on the question, how can we live right side up in an upside down world? You may have felt this tension when what is celebrated around you doesn't quite align with what feels true within you. When the pace of life feels hurried, but your soul is asking you to slow down. When success is measured by more, but something in you longs for less. When noise is constant, but your heart is drawn to the quiet. It seems today there is a quiet disorientation that many people are living with, a sense that something is off. But as you've heard me say many times before, when we look at the life and teachings of Jesus Christ, we encounter something quite different and unexpected. We encounter a way of living that feels almost reversed. Because in the way of Jesus, the last are first, the poor in spirit are blessed, those who mourn are not overlooked but comforted, the meek inherit the earth, the peacemakers are called children of God, and those who lose their life will find it. This isn't just poetic language. It is completely different orientation to reality. I'm calling it the right side up living. First of all, let me say what right side up living is not. It is not winning versus losing, right versus left, power versus passivity, fight versus flight. It's not about fixing the world first. It's about allowing your inner life to be reordered, a different way of seeing, a different way of being. To live right side up in an upside down world is to anchor yourself in a different center than the one most people are living from. Sometimes it means finding a third way, and I believe that Jesus' way was the third way. And if we're honest, it can feel disorienting at first because much of what we have been taught, both explicitly and implicitly, pulls us in the opposite direction of our culture. We're taught to strive, to accumulate, to prove, to protect, to perform. We're taught to measure our worth by what we accomplish, how we appear, and how others respond to us. But the way of Jesus does something very different. It gently and sometimes radically reorders what matters. It seems to hold the tension between the two opposite extremes. It's not choosing fight or flight, but choosing something different. So what does it mean to live right side up in a world like this? I think it begins, as I said, by choosing a different center. Most of us have been trained, without even realizing it, to live from circumference or external centers, caring too much about what others think of us, or letting expectations be placed upon us, or being afraid of falling behind, and also the need we have to feel in control. And when we live from those centers, our lives become reactive. We're easily shaken, easily driven, and easily exhausted. But to live right side up is to begin to live from a deeper, quieter place, a center that is not easily moved, a center rooted in the awareness that you are already held, already known, already loved. The center where God abides within you. That center is your spirit, where God's spirit meets you, and then permeates every other part of your life. This is what I would call living from union with God rather than separation. Union with God, union with your own soul, and union with the present moment. And when you begin to live from this place, even imperfectly, your life starts to take on a different shape. You begin to move more slowly in a world that rushes. You're no longer driven by urgency. You begin to tell the truth, not harshly, but honestly, in a world where often lies are better. You begin to choose presence in a world that is constantly distracted. You begin to receive before you produce. And this is a big one, because many of us have been shaped to believe that our worth is tied to what we give, what we accomplish, and what we create. But the way of Jesus invites us to take pause, to receive first, to receive love, to receive grace, to receive our very life as a gift. As we've talked about in the last episode, giving from a place you have received, not to prove anything, but a natural overflow. To live right side up also means learning to respond rather than react. When we're living from fear or insecurity or exhaustion, we react, we defend, we withdraw, we try to control. But when we're grounded in a deeper center, we gain a small but powerful space between what happens to us and how we respond. And it's in that space, in that pause, that we are free. Free to choose patience, free to choose forgiveness, free to choose kindness, free to choose love, even when it's difficult. This is not fight or flight. It's not a weakness. This is a strength of a different kind, the kind of strength that requires we learn to live our life in a new way of thinking, not trying to think our way into a new way of living. And I think this is important to say. Living right side up in an upside down world is not about withholding from the world or withdrawing from the world. It's about being present within the world in a different way, no longer driven by opposition, but by alignment. It is the quiet strength of someone who no longer is trying to win the moment, but is willing to redeem it. It's about becoming a quiet, steady presence in the midst of the noise, a non-anxious presence in the midst of fear, a grounded presence in the midst of chaos. So how does right side up living act? When faced with hostility, it's not passive, it's not aggressive, but present, with a presence that refuses to mirror the harm. It absorbs without becoming hardened. It responds without becoming reactive. When faced with injustice, it's not passive silence or violent retaliation, but courageous, grounded resistance that still honors the humanity of all involved. When faced with personal hurt, it's not self-protection that closes the heart. It's not self-abandonment that erases the self. But it holds both truth and love at the same time. It may mean telling the truth without attacking the person. It may mean setting a boundary without retaliation. Also, staying present in a hard conversation without trying to control it. This is where the third way is often misunderstood. It's stronger than both extremes. It doesn't just sit in the middle, but it creates a new way, and that's why it's called the third way. It's about living with an open hand instead of a clenched fist, not believing there are only two choices, not just this or that, but a possible third way. So much of our anxiety today comes from trying to hold on and hold everything together, to control outcomes, to secure our future, to protect ourselves from pain. But an open hand says, I will participate in life, but I will not try to control everything. I will love, even though I cannot guarantee the outcome. I will take a pause and try to see a third way in the choices of my life. Philippians 4:8 in the Holy Wisdom of the Bible instructs us to actively fill our minds with whatever is true, which is bigger than facts or information. Whatever is pure and lovely and honorable and just and praiseworthy. These things mirror the character and way of Jesus and allow the boundaries of our heart and minds to be expanded to the third way. This way of life requires something deeper than willpower. It requires inner grounding, self-awareness, and trust in God. Without that, we will almost always fall back into fight or flight. This kind of life, though it may sound simple, it's deeply transformative. So you may ask, why is it so hard? First of all, it's countercultural. It goes against our culture and society. Most of us have not learned this way. We've been taught to choose this or that, and never a third way. Secondly, it is not shaped by fear. It's shaped by love, and in many ways, it's a quiet resistance. Resisting the lie that the world and God is against you. Resisting the belief that louder is better, and the assumption that power is control. So instead, as I said all along, we can choose something else: presence, humility, compassion, and truth that is lived, not just argued, the Jesus way. And over time, something will shift, not just around us, but within us. Something within us gets reoriented. Urgency loses its power. What once defined you has lost its grip. And what seemed weak now feels like more strength. You'll be able to see more clearly, live more freely, and love more deeply. And perhaps this is what it means to live right side up in an upside down world. So as I close today, I want to offer you a gentle invitation. Notice where your life feels misaligned. Where are you being pulled by urgency? Where are you measuring your worth by something outside of yourself? Where are you holding on too tightly? And then, very gently, with curiosity, ask yourself, what would it look like to live from center in union with God, who is at the center? It may take just one small shift, one moment of presence, one honest response, one open-handed choice. Because this kind of life is not built in a day. It's formed slowly, through small, faithful turns, not submitting to the most convenient quick response. So today, I hope you'll be able to find the courage to live just a little more right side up, rooted in love, rather than driven by fear, moving with gentleness in a world that rushes. And I also hope your life will become a quiet, steady witness to a different way of being, taking a pause to choose the third way. And as always, taking a breath to stay present to the life that is right here. Thank you for pausing with me today. If this episode meant something to you, please pass it on to your friends and others. If you would like to write to me and ask questions, please do so. I'd love to hear from you. I don't pretend to know all the answers, but I'm happy to share what I'm learning along the way. You can email me at prudence@pausewithprudence.com. If you'd like to go deeper and want reminders of today's episode, you can download the pause page for this episode at www.pausewithprudence.com. So until next time, blessings and peace be to you. And don't forget to pause.